This entitled mum pulls one of the least funny pranks I've ever seen. She gets her son to sit in the hatchback part of a van while driving along and forces him to hold up a sign saying, "Help, I've been kidnapped." This is what happened next. Mum thinks it would be hilarious to have her kid hold up a sign saying he's been kidnapped. I am a former police officer who had to retire due to being badly injured, but this was one of my last calls before the incident that forced me into retirement. I worked for a small town police department with only 5 or 6 officers on duty at any given time, and we each covered a vast swathe of land. My beat mainly was the rural area and county highway that passes throughout the little town. One clear sunny afternoon, I'm doing speed enforcement on the highway when my radio crackles to life of a possible kidnapping in progress. And the dispatcher proceeds to provide the details of the make and model of the car, including a female driver with short blonde hair. I proceed to get onto my computer to see if there are any more details given about this, and sure enough, there is in the call log. It provides even more details, saying RP, reporting party, reports there is a young kid sitting in the hatchback part of the vehicle with a sign that says, "Help, I've been kidnapped, call 911, and their hands appear to be tied together. While the call is within our jurisdiction, they're nowhere near me, so there's nothing I can do at the moment besides other officers and sheriff deputies who are already looking for the vehicle. All is quiet for the next 10 minutes. Everybody is behaving themselves and driving the speed limit when my radio crackles to life again. We're getting another call regarding the reported kidnapping. They're now traveling south on County Highway 123. And my ears perk up and my heart starts to race as the vehicle is coming in my direction and will be here any minute. As I'm waiting for the call, dispatch gets 3 more calls from fellow drivers who have seen this young kid holding up the "Help, I've been kidnapped" sign and had called 911 to report it. With this stretch of highway being very flat, I'm able to see cars miles and miles away, especially if I'm using binos. And sure enough, here comes the van. And as the van passes me, I can see the female driver who matches the description given by the RPs and the kid sitting up against the sidewall in the hatchback area. I don't pull out right away, just in case this is an honest-to-God kidnapping. I don't want to spook the driver and get into a high-speed chase. Not to mention, I'm completely alone, and in this type of situation, you want to have a decent amount of backup in case they decide to run, shoot it out, or whatever. So, I wait until she's a good mile or 2 away, then I pull out and tail her from that distance until I can get some backup. Luckily, there is a highway patrol barracks not too far away, and they heard my call for assistance. Just as we pass the road that leads to the highway patrol barracks, I see 4 trooper vehicles pull out behind me, so I fall back and let the troopers take lead. In case this turns into a chase, they'd already be in position. While we're getting into position to stop the van, we're talking about how we're going to approach the situation. Are we going to do a soft traffic stop and proceed as a regular traffic stop and just pull the driver out of the vehicle? Or are we going to do a full felony stop? We decided to do a full felony stop. So we spread out across all 4 lanes of traffic and all turn our lights and blip our sirens at the same time. The female doesn't pull over to the side of the highway in the breakdown lane, but instead slammed on the brakes and stops in the middle of the highway. We all position our vehicles to give us the maximum amount of coverage in case of a gunfight, then get out with weapons drawn while ordering the female driver out of the vehicle. We should have known something was up when as soon as she got out of the vehicle, she started screaming, "It was a freaking joke!" But right now, we're not too interested in what she has to say. The point man keeps telling her to keep walking backwards until we tell her to stop and then get down on the ground. She complies and she's cuffed. Next, we turn our attention to the female passenger, who we didn't know at the time as we couldn't see her face, but she was the female driver's 13-year-old daughter. We ordered her backwards to get on the ground and cuffed her as well, and we did this for the next 4 passengers who were riding in the 4 seats in the back of the van. Once we got all perceived threats out of the vehicle and secured, 2 troopers went up to clear the vehicle, while another trooper and myself rescued the young boy who was bawling from the hatchback, and we put him in the back of one of our vehicles to get him away from his perceived kidnappers. The whole time, mind you, the driver and front female passengers kept yelling, "It's a joke! He's my son or my brother! I can't believe you guys!" So, after securing everybody in separate vehicles, we start to get to the bottom of this situation. The first person we talk to is the young boy, who has since calmed down after the female trooper got him a stuffed dinosaur and a snack. and we begin to start asking him questions. This is when we learned the whole thing was the female driver's and her daughter's sick idea of a funny prank. Since the van was full, they decided to put the young kid in the hatchback. They then thought it would be funny to make a sign saying, "Help, I've been kidnapped," and have the young boy hold it up while someone else in the van record the reaction of other drivers after they read the sign. Oh wow. Apparently, they'd been doing it all day and just didn't get caught until they reached our area. After talking to the other passengers, who were all under the age of 16, I learned it was mainly the idea of the mother and teen daughter. And after some discussion with the county DA on how it should be handled, we were told to kick the 4 teenagers in the back loose with no charges, to write the teenage daughter the juvenile equivalent of a ticket for inducing panic, and last but not least, save the best for mum. I opened the back door of my vehicle so I could talk to the mum. As soon as I did, she started to get out of the vehicle when I told her to stay put. She said, "Why? Don't you need to take the handcuffs off me so I can sign the ticket you're gonna give me, right?" I said, "It's not quite that simple. I'm afraid you're in a bit more trouble than a simple ticket. You're going to be charged with several felonies." This is when she lost it and started screaming over and over again, "It was a freaking joke. I can't believe nobody can take a freaking joke anymore. It was a joke. Now uncuff me or I'm going to have my husband sue you for unlawful detention." I proceeded to read her Miranda rights. All the while, she starts sobbing, with no tears I might add, while muttering, "It was a freaking joke." After I finished with her Miranda warning, I asked her if she was willing to talk to me. She told me to F off. So I did just that and shut the door to let her wait for the transport vehicle. By this time, the husband and father had shown up at the scene to collect his kids and the vehicle and was filled in on the situation. All he could do is shake his head and say, "This isn't the first time she's done stupid rubbish like this. It's just the first time she's been caught. I've warned her in the past not to do it because I knew it would end up in a situation like this one." After about 10 minutes, the transport van showed up and took her away, and I went back to a quiet afternoon of catching speeders. The female driver was charged with the following: 7 counts of inducing panic, all misdemeanor. 6 counts of felony child endangerment, 1 for each kid she had in the vehicle. The reason it was a felony is that her actions put her children's lives in danger by forcing us to do a felony stop over a prank. And finally, 1 count of having an unrestrained child. She decided to put her 6-year-old son in the hatchback of the van because they didn't have any room up front. While none of those kids should have been back there, I'd rather one of the older kids instead of the 6-year-old. The reason why? Because the other boys were too tall and wouldn't have been comfortable back there. I mean, look, as pranks go, that is right up there for me as one of the funniest of all time. If you know Sam Pepper and you know the prank that he pulled where he convinced one best friend that his other best friend was dead, wow, this is a similar level. I mean, that's really, really good, isn't it? In all seriousness, this is so dangerous. And the fact that this woman said, "What? It was just a joke. Fine, give me a ticket and I'll go," just shows how stupid she is. Like, I'm sorry, but that emergency stop alone, slamming the brakes in the middle of the motorway, that could have caused such a serious accident. Oh, it's unreal. Let's carry on. I am also a bit guilty. So, picture this. You get off work after an overnight shift. You want to start playing Pokemon Go. It's a warm day and you work a block from the beach or boardwalk. Now with all this, anyone would want to go on a walk, but this was my mistake. As many of you will know, working in security or customer service, or any job that has to do with people, will know the beach is a hot spot for the most snooty of people. During my walk, I was off to the side minding my own business when this woman came up to me and pulls on my arm. Me, confused, asked her if everything is okay and if she needed something. My mistake. This lady demands I watch her child while she takes pictures on the beach. Now to this person, I am a total stranger, no relation at all. So I say no and start to walk away, as one should in this situation. She grabs me and starts saying that I need to watch her kid. I pop my shoulder joint and slink my arm out of her grasp. I walk maybe a few blocks and pop my shoulder back in and go back to paying attention to Pokemon Go when I feel a tug on my pants. I look up confused and I feel the tug again. I look down and there is this woman's kid. He politely asked for water, so I gave him my extra water bottle and locate the mother. This is where I get the idea. I teach this kid the C word. After I make sure he has a firm grasp on this word, I tell him to introduce to her his new word. I think it was maybe 5 minutes. Poplio is a pain to catch. And then I hear that super loud yelling all kids do. But instead of the random normal screaming, it is the C word screamed. And it was loud. Every head in the area turns to look the direction of the kid, who was repeatedly, and at the top of his lungs, screaming the C word. Thinking I've got to make myself sparse, I quickly turn around and walk into an alley between 2 hotels. I hear the kid continuously scream the word. I get to my car, and that is when I start laughing my butt off. I've got no clue what happened after I left the beach. I'm sure I'll hear something about this tonight. I'll update if I do. See, this is what I'm saying, guys. This is the best policy. If any of you listening and watching right now spot a Karen out in the wild or have an interaction like this with an entitled parent, this is the best thing to do. Just mug them off. Simple as that. Just destroy them. Take the mick out of them. Do what this geezer did. Great stuff. Love it. I wish everyone that met an entitled parent did something like this. I would much rather ask for forgiveness than permission. My wife and I have a pretty nice backyard. It takes a lot of work to maintain it, but it pays off because we all love sitting out there and looking out at our backyard as we eat meals at our kitchen table. Recently, we heard voices coming from the backyard. I went out to investigate what the issue was, and there are a bunch of people doing a senior high school picture session in our backyard. There were 6 high schoolers total among the others present. As I approached them, I asked them what they thought they were doing. The one woman barely even glanced at me, dismissively saying we had such a beautiful yard and would make for great senior pictures. It turns out she was our neighbour from across the street that I'd never met face to face, just the polite waves as you drive by each other. Let me tell you, it was a less than stellar first impression. They made no effort to move, further engage in conversation, nor leave my property. They simply stopped talking to me, continued giving each other pose directions, and continued snapping pictures. I just stood there for a moment, stunned. As they started walking around me to set up in a new position by our pond, I snapped out of it, and I made it clear that I was none too fond of them trespassing on my property. To which the woman said, and I quote, "I would much rather ask for forgiveness than permission." It wasn't just the fact she said it. It wasn't how she said it. It was the fact that she said it multiple times while I was making it clear I wasn't happy with them being there. After getting frustrated with the conversation going nowhere, I coldly quit back. That doesn't work so well when the owner has a gun. After that, I walked back inside to speak to my wife regarding how much of a deal we wanted to make about this. Well, we were on the same page. We had to make sure this neighbour knew she was not welcome to just trespass in our yard whenever she wanted, especially our backyard. I walked back outside to confront them again to make them leave, but they were already gone. I guess my comment and demeanour hit home and made them feel like it was a good idea to leave. I know, not a great ending to the story. This story could have ended a lot of different ways, but I'll happily accept an ending where it didn't escalate into a big confrontation and they simply left. We haven't caught them in our backyard again, but that doesn't mean she won't try again or won't just wait until we leave. Sorry guys, I just need to take a quick second to understand exactly what she said. I would much rather ask for forgiveness than permission. That is so nuts. I'm sorry, but it really is. Like, I don't want to get deep here, but chuck that into any other context. Maybe getting criminal now. I mean, trespassing is criminal, but think about much more serious stuff. That is such a mental thing to say. How about this? She then goes on and kills a man because she doesn't like them. Now, instead of asking, I don't know, his wife's permission to do that, she instead asks for forgiveness from his wife for killing her husband. Now look, I know it's a little bit far-fetched, but that is the level we're talking here. Ridiculous. Now guys, our final story of today's episode is an update from one I read a couple of months ago. If you haven't yet seen it, link down below in the description, in the pinned comment, and also behind the I button right now if you're watching on YouTube. The title is Mother is Impersonating Me. And a quick update, this person's dad forced them to either quit their job or half their hours, yet refused to support them financially despite the fact they were a minor. It was a pretty crazy first story. Go and listen to it first. Here we go then. Basically, things have escalated, and my mother has started calling into my work under my name and acting like a butthole to my manager, saying that I can't work today. I came into work today and everybody was shocked to see me because apparently I'd called in a few hours ago and said I was sick. I agreed with my parents about a week or two ago that I would drop to 1 day a week starting next weekend. When my mother picked me up from work yesterday, she changed her mind and told me that I wouldn't be allowed work today. No reason at all, she just did a 180. I reasoned with her and said that today would be my last Sunday shifts, but she threatened to call in sick or quit on my behalf unless I listened to her. Anyways, I woke up today ready to call in sick, but my dad took my side and told my mum that we'd made an agreement for next weekend and that it wasn't fair on me to order me around like this. I thought it was all sorted, and my dad even offered to drive me into work. Fast forward about half an hour, and I arrived there to find out that my mum had called in sick under my name while I'd been on my way to work. She never told me she'd cancelled my shifts, so I guess it was just to spite me. Well, I ended up in a very awkward situation, and I had to explain the whole story about my mother to 4 concerned managers. What the heck do I do when I come home? Impersonating me like that has to be illegal. Now my mum is gaslighting me and telling me that she never called in, and is furious at me for even suggesting that she did. What do I say to her to make sure this never happens again? Or even to make her admit that she did it? Well, unfortunately, my friend, judging by this post and your previous one, there is nothing you can say, nothing you can do, nothing you can say when it comes to the truth. When it comes to your mother, that is. She is a wrong'un, and I also don't even know if those lyrics were correct. Can we get those lyrics up on screen? Were they right? Get in the comments, let me know. And also, if you do know the song that I'm referencing there, keep holding on. Wow, let's just end the video right there.